Hello, and welcome to another video. Today I want to talk about how people actually end games and the main things that are usually stopping you from ending your games consistently, and the really general plan that you should be following if you're a lower elo player to end your games without throwing them on whatever else, right? So very simply, we're going to just make a map state that makes a bit more sense in terms of it being a mid to late game, right? And right, so we're gonna end up having something like this, right? Where top laners or something and mid laners or something, right? And let's say it's a 1-3-1 or something, or mid lane can be here. It doesn't really matter, right? So the point is that we're going to open up the game like an orange. So first of all, obviously you're going to take the bot lane tower and the top lane and the mid lane tower. So you want to make sure that all three of these fall, right? People do say that the mid lane one is the most important, but I mean, it's kind of true, kind of not, because if the bot lane tower falls with all the plates going to the ADC, then that's a really huge lead and that can even outweigh a mid lane tower. But positionally, the mid lane tower is the most important. But anyway, we're going to take all three of these and we're going to focus on taking the objectives when they're up, right? That's pretty obvious for most of you. But what do we do when the objectives aren't up, right? So we're going to try to time so that our waves are always pushing at the same time and hitting towers at the same time, right? So to that extent, whatever role you're playing, you're going to try to set up the wave in a way that makes it happen, right? So if you have a split pusher here, maybe just try to sync them up to whatever is happening. But if no one is pushing, like say that there are 4 people here, you want to be one of these 4 and you want to go here and you want to set this up. Even if you're at the top lane and split pushing in this case, you can still take a wave here and set it up. It's just going to be a bit harder and you're going to have a bit more foresight. But once we've set this up where all of the waves are going to be pushing at the same time, then what ends up happening is we have to keep track of all of the enemies, obviously, so that we don't get like engaged on in outnumbered scenarios. So that's the first thing you're going to focus on. So track all the enemies. That's the most important by far, right? And then secondly, we're going to try to raise their jungle. And as we burn down their jungle, they have no resources. So we deny resources. And when we deny resources and we track all the enemies, then the enemies are forced to try to find some coin flip fights. And those coin flip fights are going to end up in positions where we can actually abuse how strong we are. If we're a side laner, then the most common way to really abuse our lead is to push out. This guy is stuck in their tower. We rotate, we flank, and we kill the enemy. If we're like a mid laner, it's like same thing, right? But if we're the bot lane, then it's going to be to push out. And then, again, same concept. Flank the enemy. Jungle, same thing. No matter who you are, you really just want to get prio in a lane, have the other lanes be pushed up, and then you want to flank them. So this is going to be our general idea of what we want to do to keep making leads, right? And whenever this is possible, that's really great. But the more challenging positions are the ones where we can't find this, because if you can find this, then you kill the enemy and okay, all fine and dandy. You have to obviously be a bit careful to not throw the game on this. But other than that, it's a bit awkward, right? But then I have the second game plan for you, where no matter which role you are, you will push out, right? Everyone's pushing. Then you will take the enemy jungle, and then you will chill. And when at least half of the enemy jungle or something is taken, then you just make sure to only play up when everyone is on the map. So you want to make sure that all 5 of your team is on the map, if possible. And then you just do nothing, because the enemy is falling behind naturally because their camps are gone, right? And they can't do anything. And you should already be ahead because we're trying to close out the game. We're not trying to like make a lead. We're already ahead in theory, right? So with this, we will have a very consistent lead building up. And then we just play for objectives. Play for objectives, play for objectives. If the enemy ever fights us, If they rotate badly, if they do whatever, take a tower. Right? This mid lane tower is really big to get, because then these towers become really easy to take, kind of, and to flank around. But this mid lane tower is pretty hard to take, so usually it ends up being like these towers disappear before, and then this tower is still up, and then you just take this. But if a fight does happen and you win it, then you will likely take this tower, and then you try to focus on taking these towers. And the point is to make this, where the enemy is stuck here. They're all playing on this little piece of the map. Then you still keep taking their jungle, right? Still keep building a consistent lead. But now, let's say that dragon is spawning in, I don't know, a minute or two. Simple. Ward this whole side. Like, you can still have one guy pushing top. That's like, whatever. It's fine, especially if STP. But then just push out these lanes. Make sure this stays warded. And stay up here somewhere. Like, somewhere here. Until, say, like 20 seconds before the objective is spawning, right? And then when it's like 20 seconds before the objective is spawning, the enemy either has to come or they have to concede. If they come and your whole jungle is warded here and you have an advantage in items and stuff, there's no way that they should be able to win unless you all misplay horribly. So if they come, then they lose. If you take the objective, good. We took the objective. Nice. Enemy jungle is still gone. They're still falling behind. Now you just swap and you do the same thing on the other side. Bim bam boom. Same thing. Now we deny vision here. We get our own vision here. Same thing. Wait for this worm to spawn. 20 seconds. Okay. If they come, they die. Most likely. If they don't come, we take the worm. After this, very simple. We send 4 people in one lane, preferably. We can have like one guy like push out like the other lane. And we just try to have like minions go down, say like this lane or something. And let's like swap the top laner and the mid laner, since we don't need the mid to be here anymore. But then we make it a situation where the mid lane is pushing, the bot lane is pushing, and the top lane is pushing. And with this in Baron, we're going to be able to take at least one of these towers by just rotating. Because we can hit a bit here. Okay, they defend. They like go 5-man here. Okay. We go a bit here. If they're like matching us completely in numbers, we can still like rotate a bit. And at some point we can also dive or something, and it can just be fine. Then there are 2 scenarios that can result from this. One, we end up taking at least one inhib. If we take one inhib, then it becomes like really easy, because this lane will now just auto push. We just go here, we go here, and we just like force down these inhibs. And once you take 2 to 3 inhibs and you have Baron, the game is really easy to end. You just have to not like run into the enemy and die. That's all we have to do, really. I mean, I'm simplifying it a little bit, but like, it's honestly really close to literally just being that. Just don't run into the enemy and die, and just push the waves. The second situation, though, is that you didn't end up getting any inhibs. And in that case, you just keep doing the same thing. Keep pushing, keep dragging, keep this. Cool. And eventually either you find a way to break into their base, or you end up with Soul and Baron, or you end up with Elder and Baron. And you're still ahead, because for the enemy to come back without any of these camps and any of these camps, like none of this, and no objectives, for them to come back, it's gonna take like 45 minutes or something like that. Like at 40 minutes, they can be maybe 5 items, and you'll be 6 still. So you're still ahead. So yeah, this is a pretty consistent game plan. Just like keep ending the game. And this is all you should really be following if you're lower than at least master, because there's no reason to overthink it too much. I mean, there's stuff like split pushing, and there's like stuff like some like comp specific stuff or whatever. Sure, you can think about it a little bit, but generally this plan should be good enough for most of you to really get the idea. And all of that stuff like split pushing and fights and whatever, most of it is centered around this idea anyway, because the highest value thing on the map is what you want to be playing for, and then all you really take account of are the matchups and who beats who, and like teleports or something. And then this is the fundamental concept for ending games. I don't think that late game is the thing that you should be focusing on the most. That's also why I completely simplify this and give you just a step-by-step to play this, because I think that if you're below, I don't know, master or something, then you should mostly just focus on improving your early and mid game, and that should be the best. As long as you do that, you should be good. Either way, if you enjoyed the video, then like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Peace.